The diplomatic incident. Ambassador Sarah Chen stood at the podium, her heart racing despite years of diplomatic training. The crystalline spires of New Centauri towered around the embassy plaza, their iridescent surfaces reflecting the light of three suns. 2,000 years of human dreams about first contact had led to this moment, the opening of humanity's first interstellar embassy. The assembled dignitaries represented over 30 spacefaring species, their diverse forms a testament to the galaxy's rich variety of life. The Centauri themselves, tall and elegant with their silver-sheen skin and flowing robes, occupied the front row. Their high speaker, Venix, watched with what appeared to be genuine warmth in his luminescent eyes. Today marks not just a milestone for humanity, Sarah continued, her voice carrying across the plaza, but a step forward in our shared journey among the stars. The Centauri Alliance has welcomed us with open arms, sharing technology and knowledge that has already transformed our civilization. In the crowd, Dr. Marcus Wong shifted uncomfortably. Something about the latest batch of data from his quantum resonance scanner wasn't sitting right. He'd designed the device to study the famous enhancement field, the Alliance's greatest gift to humanity. The field supposedly optimized neural pathways, enhanced learning, and promoted peaceful cooperation. Every human colony had eagerly installed the generators, grateful for this benevolent technology. But the numbers on his tablet told a different story. The field's quantum signature showed signs of active modulation, patterns too complex to be simple enhancement. He glanced at his colleague, Dr. Aisha Patel, who was already pale with recognition. "It's not enhancement," she whispered. "It's control. Subtle, elegant, nearly undetectable. But it's there." Marcus's hands trembled as he expanded the analysis. The field wasn't just present here. It blanketed every Alliance world, every uplifted species. Only humans, as newcomers, showed natural neural patterns. The implications were staggering. Ambassador Chen was just reaching the ceremony's climax. And so, with great honor, we activate our embassy's own enhancement field generator, symbolizing our full integration into the Alliance community. Marcus stood abruptly, drawing sharp looks from nearby diplomats. "Ambassador, wait." The security detail tensed, but Sarah had worked with Marcus long enough to know he wouldn't interrupt without cause. She paused, her hand hovering over the activation crystal. High Speaker Venix rose smoothly. "Is there a problem, Dr. Wong? Perhaps something our technical team could assist with." Marcus felt the weight of thousands of eyes upon him. He looked at his data again, knowing that his next words would shatter decades of peaceful cooperation. But the truth couldn't be buried. "The enhancement field is not what we were told." He projected his findings onto the plaza's holographic displays. "It's a neural control mechanism. Every species in the Alliance is under its influence." The plaza erupted in murmurs. Several alien diplomats stood up in protest, but Marcus noticed something odd. Their movements were almost synchronized, their expressions of outrage nearly identical. Venix's warm demeanor cooled instantly. "These are serious accusations, Doctor. Accusations that could damage the trust we've built." Sarah studied the data scrolling across the displays, her diplomatic training warring with the evidence before her. "High Speaker, we need to understand what this means." "What it means," Venix's voice carried a new edge, "is that humans have not yet learned their place in the greater community. Perhaps we were premature in extending certain privileges." The security forces around the plaza began to move with practiced precision. Not just the Alliance guards, but the representatives of other species as well, all moving with that same unsettling synchronization. Aisha had already transmitted their findings to Earth through quantum channels. There would be no burying this discovery. "Ambassador," Marcus called out, "the field generators in human space, they're already trying to activate them remotely." Sarah's decision would reshape human history. "Initiate Protocol Zero," she commanded. Across human space, emergency orders flashed to every colony. Enhancement field generators were immediately powered down and isolated. The plaza's atmosphere shifted from diplomatic ceremony to barely contained hostility. Venix's eyes now held no warmth at all as he addressed the human delegation. "You had such potential," he said softly. "We would have guided your development, shaped you into something useful. Now you force us to consider alternatives." As Alliance security forces moved to surround the human delegation, Sarah caught glimpses of other alien diplomats shaking their heads, as if trying to clear away fog. The enhancement field's effect was weakening without the embassy generator to reinforce it. "You've controlled them all along," she realized. "Every species, every decision, every peaceful integration. It was all orchestrated." "Peace requires control," Venix stated simply. "Your species will learn this lesson, one way or another." As the sun set on humanity's first and last day of official Alliance membership, quantum messages raced between Earth and its colonies. Humanity had walked into the galaxy's grandest deception, and their next steps would determine not just their own fate, but the freedom of countless enslaved species. The diplomatic incident was over. The real conflict was about to begin. The awakening. 3 weeks after the embassy incident, the Sol system had become a fortress. Dr. Marcus Wong stared at the holographic display, showing refugee ships arriving from human colonies, not humans fleeing, but aliens seeking asylum. The enhancement field's influence was breaking down across dozens of worlds, and the truth was spreading like wildfire. "Another ship from the Proxima sector," Aisha reported, her desk buried under data tablets. "This time, it's a group of Nilari scientists. They say they've been aware of the control for centuries, but couldn't break free until now." Marcus watched as the ship underwent security screening. The Nilari, with their crystalline exoskeletons and renowned logical minds, had been among the Alliance's most celebrated member species. Now they were defectors. "What I don't understand," he said, "is why the field's effects are degrading so rapidly. We only shut down our generators." Admiral Helena Santos entered the laboratory, her uniform bearing the newly created Resistance Command insignia. "Because you gave them hope, Doctor. Sometimes that's all it takes to break conditioning." The Admiral activated a secure channel, displaying footage from across Alliance space. Protests had erupted on dozens of worlds. Species that had been passive members of the Alliance for millennia were suddenly questioning everything. The Centauri response had been swift and brutal, but their usual methods of control were failing. "The Skith Collective just declared independence," Helena announced. "Their hive mind apparently gave them some natural resistance to the field. They're offering sanctuary to other breaking free species." Aisha pulled up new data streams. "The Alliance is claiming we've deployed some kind of counterfield technology. They're calling it an aggression inducer and blaming us for the unrest." "Classic projection," Marcus muttered. "Accuse your enemy of what you're doing yourself." The laboratory's quantum communicator chimed. Ambassador Chen's hologram appeared, looking exhausted but determined. She and a small team had escaped New Centauri during the chaos and established a shadow diplomatic course. "The Alliance just announced sanctions against all human worlds," Sarah reported. "They're claiming our corruption is spreading to other species. But there's something else, something bigger happening behind the scenes." She transmitted a coded file. Marcus decoded it, and his blood ran cold. "They're upgrading the enhancement field generators. The new version doesn't just influence, it completely overwrites personality patterns." "They're panicking," Helena observed, "losing control and going straight to full neural domination." "But it gets worse," Sarah continued. "They're prioritizing the upgrade for species showing the most resistance. The Nilari have less than a week before their entire civilization gets wiped clean." Aisha's hands flew over her console. "The field upgrade requires a complete shutdown of the old system. That's our window. If we can disrupt the transition, we'd free billions," Marcus finished. "But we'd need to hit multiple targets simultaneously, and we still don't have a permanent solution to prevent them from just starting over." A new alert flashed across their screens. The Centauri had begun broadcasting across all frequencies, their message translated into every known language. The human species represents a dangerous anomaly in the natural order. Their resistance to guidance threatens the peace we have maintained for millennia. All Alliance members are hereby ordered to cease any contact with human worlds. Those harboring human sympathizers or displaying signs of their corruption will face immediate correction. They're scared, Helena said with grim satisfaction. For the first time in their history, they're actually scared. Marcus studied the complex quantum equations underlying the enhancement field. Maybe that's our advantage. They've relied on this technology for so long, they don't know how to handle genuine resistance. Aisha suddenly straightened. Marcus, look at these patterns. The field doesn't just control, it connects. Every influenced mind becomes part of a vast network. What if we could use that against them? A plan began to form. Dangerous, potentially catastrophic, but possibly their only chance. They could use the Alliance's own upgrade attempt to introduce a cascading failure in the control network. But the backlash could be devastating for any mind connected to the system. How many Centauri do you think are under their own field's influence? Sarah asked quietly. Probably most of their population, Marcus replied. The ruling class would need to maintain the illusion even among their own people. Then we need to warn them, Sarah insisted. Give them a chance to shut down their generators voluntarily before we act. Even if they are our enemies, we can't just. Ambassador, Helena interrupted gently. They're preparing to mentally enslave billions. Sometimes the moral choice isn't the clean one. Sarah was silent for a long moment. Make the preparations, she finally said. But we try diplomacy first. Show them what we've discovered. Give them one last chance to end this peacefully. And if they refuse? Aisha asked. Then we prove that humanity's greatest weapon isn't our technology or our determination, Sarah replied. It's our capacity to free others from tyranny, even at great cost to ourselves. As the team began their preparations, more refugee ships appeared on the scanner. Species that had been enemies under Alliance control now worked together, sharing resources and information. The awakening was spreading, and with it came both hope and danger. The Centauri Alliance had maintained control through subtle manipulation for thousands of years. Now they were about to learn what happened when their carefully orchestrated peace was replaced by genuine, hard-won freedom. The next few days would determine whether that freedom would be worth the price they would all have to pay. The price of truth. The Centauri response came at dawn. Dr. Marcus Wong watched in horror as reports flooded in from the outer colonies. New Hampshire colony. Life support systems mysteriously failing. Titan base. Fusion reactors entering unexpected shutdown. Europa station. Communication arrays spontaneously deactivating. They're using our own infrastructure against us, Aisha said, her voice tight with anger. All those helpful Alliance technological upgrades over the years. They built backdoors into everything. Marcus finished. We just never saw it. Admiral Helena Santos burst into the lab, her uniform dusty from the latest round of emergency fortification work. We've lost contact with 3 more colonies. The good news is the evacuation protocols worked. We got most of our people out before the systems failed. Ambassador Chen's hologram flickered to life in the center of the room. Her new base of operations, hidden somewhere in the Oort cloud, maintained irregular contact through quantum channels the Alliance couldn't track. It's not just human worlds, Sarah reported. Every species that showed signs of breaking free is facing technical difficulties. The Nilari just lost their primary atmospheric processors. The Skith are dealing with cascading failures in their neural network hubs. Marcus pulled up the latest data from his quantum resonance scanners. The enhancement field upgrade is proceeding faster than we predicted. They're not even trying to be subtle anymore. Look at these power signatures. The holographic display showed a wave of intense neural manipulation spreading across Alliance space. Species that had been merely influenced were now being fully subjugated. The few that resisted faced immediate technical accidents. We've identified their primary control hub, Asia announced, highlighting a location near the galactic core. The upgraded field network requires more direct coordination. They've had to centralize their operations, which makes them vulnerable, Helena noted. If we can strike there, we'd need to get past the heaviest defenses in the galaxy, Sarah countered. The Alliance built their reputation on peace, but their military capability is unprecedented. They've just never had to use it openly before. A new alert flashed across their screens. Marcus felt his heart stop as he read the message. They found a way to reactivate some of the dormant enhancement field generators in human space. New Moscow colony just went dark, not from technical failures, but from mass neural shutdown. How many? Helena demanded. Early readings suggest 90% of the population is unconscious, Aisha reported, her hands shaking as she analyzed the data. Their minds are being rewritten as we speak. Sarah's hologram showed her slumping in her chair. How long do they have? Hours, maybe less, Marcus said. Once the process is complete, they won't be our people anymore. They'll be extensions of the Alliance control network. Launch the countermeasure, Helena ordered. We're out of time. Marcus hesitated. The prototype isn't fully tested. The quantum cascade could. Could what, Doctor? Helena's voice was steel. Could harm them. They're already being erased. Launch it. Marcus entered the activation codes. Across human space, hidden quantum devices powered up, generating interference patterns that disrupted the enhancement field's coherence. In New Moscow, the neural rewrite process stuttered and failed, but the cost was immediate and devastating. 20% of the affected population suffered severe neural trauma. They would recover, but the path would be long and painful. It worked, Aisha whispered, but this is only the beginning. The Alliance will adapt, find new frequencies, try different approaches. Sarah's hologram straightened. Then we change the game. The Alliance's power comes from secrecy and control, so we take that away. All of it. She transmitted a new file. Intelligence gathered from defectors across dozens of species. Evidence of millennia of manipulation, of civilizations guided and controlled, of independence systematically stripped away in the name of peace. We broadcast everything, she continued, not just to the subjected species, but to the Centauri population itself. Show them what their leaders have done in their name. The enhancement field affects their own people, Marcus protested. They might not be able to even process the information. Then we combine the broadcast with a targeted pulse from our quantum disruptors, Aisha suggested. Create temporary windows of clarity. Give them a chance to see the truth. Helena studied the tactical displays. The Alliance will try to stop the broadcast. They'll throw everything they have at us. Yes, Sarah agreed, and that's exactly what we need. Let them show the galaxy their true face. Let everyone see what peace really costs. As they prepared for the broadcast, more refugee ships appeared on their sensors. Among them was a vessel of unique design, Centauri construction, but flying under no recognized flags. New arrivals, Helena reported. Centauri dissidents. Apparently, some of their scientists have been aware of the control system for generations. They've been working in secret to undermine it. They want to help, Sarah added. They say they have details about the control hub's weaknesses, about how to break the field permanently. Marcus looked at the quantum equation scrolling across his screen. The solution was taking shape, not just a way to disrupt the field, but to transform it, to turn the Alliance's tool of control into something entirely different. But first, they had to survive the coming storm. The Alliance would not let their secrets be exposed without unleashing everything in their arsenal. The price of truth was about to get much higher. Send to all human worlds and allied species, Helena commanded. The broadcast begins in 6 hours. All ships in position. May whatever gods exist help us all. As the countdown began, Marcus couldn't help but wonder. In trying to free the galaxy from control, were they about to unleash chaos that would destroy everything? Was true freedom worth the cost they were about to pay? They were about to find out. The Silent War. The broadcast changed everything. For 6 hours, the truth about the enhancement field flooded every communication channel in Alliance space. Records of neural manipulation, evidence of suppressed rebellions, proof of orchestrated accidents, all of it pouring into billions of minds experiencing moments of clarity as human quantum disruptors created holes in the control network. Dr. Marcus Wong hadn't slept in 3 days. The Alliance's response had been devastating. 40% of human colonies were dark, their systems sabotage. The Nilari homeworld was under direct military occupation. The Skith Collective's primary hive nodes had been bombarded into silence. But the cracks were spreading. Another Centauri fleet just went offline. Admiral Helena announced, her tactical display showing holes appearing in the Alliance's defense grid. Their own crews are refusing orders. The disruption pulses are working. Once they see the truth, some of them can't go back to being controlled. Aisha burst into the command center, her usually neat appearance disheveled from endless hours in the lab. We've decoded more of the defectors' data. The enhancement field isn't just control technology. It's adaptation technology. The Centauri found it in ancient ruins thousands of years ago. They didn't create it. Marcus looked up from his quantum calculations. No, Aisha continued. They just learned to use it. The original builders, whoever they were, designed it as a network to share consciousness and experience. The Centauri twisted it into a tool of control. Sarah's hologram appeared, her image unstable from increasing quantum interference. That explains the physical architecture we found. The control hub isn't just a broadcast center, it's a collection point. Every controlled mind feeds experience back into the network. A galactic-scale harvest of consciousness, Marcus whispered. But why? What are they doing with all the collected experience? New alerts flashed across their screens. The Alliance had launched its counterstroke. Across human space and allied territories, a new version of the enhancement field began to manifest. But this was different, more aggressive, more direct. They're burning out their own technology, Aisha realized, studying the readings. The new field pattern is unsustainable. It'll destroy the very network they built, but not before it permanently rewrites every mind it touches. Helena's tactical display erupted with new warnings. They're targeting population centers. Earth will be hit in less than an hour. We can't extend our quantum disruption field far enough to protect everyone. We don't have to. Marcus's hands flew across his console. Look at these patterns. The field network, it's all connected. One vast, quantum-entangled system. If we can alter the fundamental frequency at the source, we can transform the entire network, Aisha finished. But we'd need direct access to the control hub. And even then, we don't know what a change at that scale would do to all the minds connected to the system. Sarah's hologram stabilized briefly. The Centauri dissidents just transmitted new data. There's a reason their leaders are willing to burn everything down. The collected consciousness in the network, they're using it to try to break through to somewhere else. Another dimension, another layer of reality. They're not just controlling people. They're using their combined consciousness as a tool for transcendence. And if they succeed? Helena asked. Based on these equations, Marcus said quietly, they'd tear reality apart. Billions of forcibly networked minds pushing against the barriers of space-time itself. The neural burnout we're seeing, it's just the beginning. A plan formed. Dangerous, potentially catastrophic, but perhaps their only option. They could use the Alliance's own push for transcendence against them. The human quantum disruptors, combined with the ancient network's true purpose, could transform the field from a tool of control into something entirely new. We'd need to get a team into the control hub, Helena said, right into the heart of Alliance space. Not just any team, Aisha added. Someone who understands both the quantum mechanics and the neural interface. Someone who could implement the changes before the network overloads. Everyone looked at Marcus. The calculations would have to be perfect, he said. One mistake, and we could fry every connected mind in the galaxy. And even if we succeed, transforming a control network into a true consciousness-sharing system, we have no idea what that would do to galactic civilization. Sarah's image flickered again. The Alliance is trying to force transcendence through control and subjugation. Maybe what the galaxy needs is a chance to grow toward it naturally, together. Real connection, not forced compliance. New alerts lit up their screens. The enhanced field had reached Mars. Reports of mass neural events were flooding in. They were out of time. Admiral. Marcus stood, his decision made. I'm going to need a fast ship and a very good pilot. Helena smiled grimly. I think I know just the person. The question is, can you remake an ancient alien network, transform galactic consciousness, and prevent reality from tearing itself apart in the roughly 3 hours we have left? Doctor. Aisha handed him a quantum data core containing their cumulative research. Don't forget what we learned from the original builder's data. The network wasn't meant to force. It was meant to share, to grow, to transform through unity freely chosen. Marcus took the core, his mind already racing through the calculations that might save billions of minds, or burn them all out trying. 3 hours to change the galaxy, he said. Let's make them count. Breaking the chains. The control hub hung in space like a dark star, its crystalline surfaces absorbing light rather than reflecting it. As Marcus's ship approached under the cover of a borrowed Centauri identification signal, he could feel the weight of billions of networked minds pressing against his consciousness. We're picking up massive energy signatures, reported Captain Yuki Tanaka, their pilot and last-minute addition to the mission. The Alliance is pushing the network to its limits. Whatever transcendence they're trying to achieve, they're making their final attempt now. The ship's sensors showed the enhanced field spreading across space like a tsunami of thought, burning out minds and systems in its wake. Earth had less than an hour left. Multiple Alliance warships detecting us, Yuki announced calmly. Our borrowed codes won't fool them much longer. Marcus barely heard her. The quantum equations were consuming his attention. The calculations had to be perfect. One mistake, and they wouldn't need to worry about the Alliance's transcendence attempt. They'd destroy the connected consciousness of half the galaxy themselves. His quantum communicator crackled. Marcus. It was Aisha's voice, distorted by interference. The network. It's not just collecting consciousness, it's evolving. Each mind it burns through adds to its complexity. The Alliance isn't controlling it anymore. It's controlling them. The ship shuddered as the first Alliance weapons found their range. Yuki's hands danced across the controls, weaving through energy beams and quantum torpedoes. They're not trying to destroy us, she realized. They're herding us toward something. The tactical display showed it. A massive opening in the hub's surface, like the maw of some impossible creature. Energy readings from within were off the charts. It's the network core, Marcus said. They're inviting us in. They want us to see. Inside his mind, the equation suddenly shifted, revealing a pattern he'd missed before. The Alliance hadn't corrupted the ancient builder's technology. They'd been corrupted by it. Generation after generation of Centauri leaders, thinking they were maintaining control, had actually been guided by the network toward this moment. New contact, Yuki called out. Massive ship approaching. It's Ambassador Chen's vessel. And she's brought friends. The tactical display lit up as ships appeared from quantum space. Refugee vessels, resistance fighters, and Centauri dissidents, all converging on the hub. The Alliance fleet's formation broke as they tried to engage multiple targets. Marcus. Sarah's voice cut through the chaos. We've decoded the last of the ancient builder's data. The network wasn't meant to force transcendence. It was meant to prepare minds to accept connection willingly. The Alliance's attempt to force it is what's tearing reality apart. Their ship dove through the opening, into the heart of the hub. The chamber within was vast, its walls lined with crystalline structures that pulsed with the thoughts of billions. Look at the pattern. Aisha's voice urged through the quantum link. It's not just storing consciousness. It's offering a choice. Every mind gets to choose connection or separation. The Alliance just never gave anyone the chance to choose. No. Marcus's fingers flew across his console, implementing the final calculations. They didn't need to destroy the network or even disable it. They just had to give everyone connected to it something they'd never had before, a genuine choice. The ship settled onto a landing platform as Alliance forces converged on their position. But they were too late. Marcus had already interfaced his quantum core with the hub's systems. The effect was immediate and galaxy-spanning. Everywhere, minds under enhancement field control suddenly faced a choice: remain connected to a voluntary network of shared consciousness and experience, or step back into individual existence. The Alliance leaders' forced transcendence attempt collapsed as billions of minds chose for themselves. Some chose to stay connected, experiencing a true version of the unity the Alliance had tried to force. Others chose independence, their minds finally fully their own. Reality itself seemed to shudder as the network transformed. The Alliance fleet fell silent as their crews experienced true freedom of choice for the first time in generations. The enhanced field dissolved, replaced by something subtle and voluntary, an open door rather than a chain. In the hub's chamber, Marcus watched as the crystalline walls changed from darkness to light. The network hadn't been destroyed. It had been fulfilled, becoming what the ancient builders had intended: a tool for growth and voluntary connection rather than control. Sarah's ship docked next to them, and she emerged with a group of Centauri dissidents. Among them was a former Alliance leader, his eyes clear of control for the first time in decades. "We thought we were preserving peace," he said quietly. "We never realized we were denying everyone, including ourselves, the most fundamental peace of all, the peace of choosing one's own path." The quantum communicator lit up with reports from across the galaxy. Species that had been enemies under Alliance control were choosing cooperation on their own terms. Others were choosing isolation, but with the knowledge that connection remained an option, not an imposition. "The network is stabilizing," Aisha reported. "Reality isn't going to tear apart after all." The ancient builders knew what they were doing. True transcendence can't be forced. It has to be chosen. Marcus looked at the transformed hub, now a beacon of possibility rather than a tool of control. "So what happens now?" Sarah smiled. "Now we do what humans do best. We explore, we learn, we grow. But this time, we do it alongside others who have chosen the same path freely." As their ships departed the hub, now transformed into a symbol of free choice rather than control, Marcus watched the galaxy spread out before them. The Alliance's forced peace was over, replaced by something more chaotic, but infinitely more real: the peace of self-determination. Humanity had entered the galactic community hoping to find allies. Instead, they had found chains, and in breaking them, they had helped forge something far more valuable: a community of truly free species, each choosing their own path among the stars. The silent war was over. The age of choice had begun.